Welcome back to Business Matters from the BBC World Service with me, John Bithry. Bringing my guests back in now, Jennifer Cheng, a Hong Kong entrepreneur who's chief executive of the cosmetics firm Glam-it, and Gordon Chang, the author of The Coming Collapse of China, a writer for Forbes magazine. Gordon joins us from Toronto today. Jennifer, I want to talk to you about a speech I understand you're giving in a couple of days in Hong Kong on the subject of Omni Retailing. Now, talk us through this, perhaps quite slowly. What is Omni Retailing?
Sure. I'm actually speaking at a conference tomorrow, the Omni Retail Conference. And really what we're seeing with the world and with commerce in general is that there's this convergence of e-commerce, m-commerce, social commerce, bricks and mortar, online and offline channels, which is really what comprises Omni Retail. And so
just talk to us about the idea of channels. What do you mean when you say a channel in relation to retailing?
I mean, like right now, we see the consumer is growing ever sophisticated and transacting across different channels. So you see forces like showrooming, reverse showrooming, and showrooming, for example, and reverse showrooming is when showrooming is offline to online. So basically when people visit a brick and mortar store, literally a showroom, and then they end up transacting online when they're researching for a better price. And then reverse showrooming.
This is, I look at a product in a shop and I like the look of it, but I may not like the price. I then go online and I buy that.
Or you might do more research. So right now what you might see is that someone might be browsing and looking at a product in a store and then taking a more convoluted path to purchase, because then they might go and research a little bit more on their phone or on their tablet, and then they might go and go back to the store and then feel and touch the item and really get to know it. Or they might do more research and read a blog and interact with their friends, and then they might end up buying it from another e-commerce channel or an m-commerce. Right now we're seeing in terms of traffic that more and more on our side of our customers are accessing via mobile devices rather than from their desktops. So there's a lot that's evolving in the space because the consumer is basically in all these paths. And as brands and marketers, we need to be able to reach them on all these different touch points. And this is actually also pointing to the need for our marketing strategies to embrace traditional online and offline channels as well, because we need to communicate with our customers and to be able to serve them.
So how tricky is all this then for a company to get its head around all these different channels, as you put it, ways that the consumer will find a product, find out what other people think of the product, find out how much that product costs in different places, how easy it is for a company? I mean, you yourself run a cosmetics firm. How have you managed to tackle it all?
Well, I'm lucky because I'm relatively social media savvy. So what we do is we use Instagram, we use Twitter, we use Facebook. We use basically where our customers are, we have to be. And as a brand, that's something that we have to do. Whether it's difficult or not, it doesn't matter. It's what your customers are doing. It's where your audience is. So you kind of have to be on all these channels. So, as I mentioned, the consumer might research something online and they'll go and experience the product physically. And in Asia, it's paramount because what we see here is a reverse showrooming, which is when the opposite happens. In showrooming in the U.S., you see things like people going to Best Buy to check out, latest electronics, and then they might go online and then get the better price. And so Amazon and other retailers, online retailers, are actually putting some of the brick and mortar stores out of business. And then what is important about Omni Retail is that there's a way for all these parties to survive and thrive. You look at it as the channels not competing with each other, but actually all working together.
So you just have to basically have, not put all your eggs in one basket anymore, not rely on a physical store, not rely on a solely online service. You have to be all things to all people where you can be.
That's correct, because, no one this day and age says, look, I never go online, or, hi, I only go to, brick and mortar stores, because the consumer is evolving so fast and becoming very savvy. We as brands need to keep up that communication and to really be able to serve them wherever they are. The customer is king.
And can you point out examples of retailers, perhaps in Hong Kong, who are not doing that? But maybe some of your competitors who haven't who haven't embraced this kind of 360-degree way of working?
I don't think that there's anyone not doing that. Everyone knows that, the importance of digital, the importance of reaching their customers. It's just a question of how fast we're able to address these issues. And since I'm a startup, I'm only a year old, and I've done other companies before, like Groupon, Be Crazy, and really embraced the changing need of the consumer, right? So as a startup, we're able to evolve and move a little bit more nimbly maybe than big companies are.
And are you able to employ, you mentioned your own experience, are you able to employ, find that you can employ enough staff who are tech savvy enough with marketing abilities and everything else to make your business a success in this sort of omni retail age, if I can put it like that?
It's sort of a balance, right? Right now, my team is a mixture of people with experience and then people who are millennials who already have these skills. Like we grow up knowing, a lot of us grow up knowing how to tweet, how to reach out on our different social media channels, how to Instagram, how to regram, how to post things on Facebook, how to use WeChat, WhatsApp, everything, all these communicational channels. So as we're seeing the rise of these channels and these communications, this is not anything new. It's like saying, I don't know how to use the internet. We grew up around this. So it's really something that is not new. We see everyone able to rise to the occasion, so to speak.
Gordon Chang, is this a sort of life or death scenario now for companies if they cannot manage to embrace this kind of way of working, being on social media, being able to drive people towards physical stores, drive people online and so on?
Well, I suspect it is. But, this can get a little creepy and maybe consumers will push back. So, for instance, where this is going is, you walk into a store, they recognize your face with software. By the time you get to a cash counter, someone's going to say, "Oh, Mr. Chang, I know you bought a brown pair of slacks in July 13, 2011. Would you like another one?" This could get sort of the point where consumers could rebel. So I actually don't know how far this will go. And yes, of course, companies need to.
Correspondent Richard Taylor, who is at the E3 gaming convention. Jennifer Cheng in Hong Kong. Are you a gamer?
I do enjoy the occasional game, and a lot of my friends are hardcore gamers out here. So I know we're all watching with bated breath what comes out of the E3 conference. And
are you sure you're not just saying that?
I'm not just saying that. But right now, what Richard Taylor said about the Project Morpheus and how it's a potential game changer certainly is. With the whole enhanced reality, and I think it's just like a Google Glass. We're going to see a lot more of this coming out of this space, and it's very exciting. And all this gamification, keeping your mind active. It's actually really important for games and during play that people learn about their world and socialize and adapt to this.
So, sorry, you mean when you're in the game, it's important that you learn about socializing and so on?
Yeah. I mean, right now, there are some of my friends where, it seems like they're spending their entire lives in front of the console, right? But I think it's important because you learn a lot about your world through games, and it's actually a kind of socialization now. If you want to speak to the younger generations, and if you want to communicate with them, you don't just use WeChat, WhatsApp, and Line. You actually communicate maybe in-game too, especially with some of the hardcore gamers out there. They're very brilliant minds.
And Gordon, you were saying you were worried about supermarkets being able to kind of identify your face as soon as you enter and tell you what you bought online with them a few months earlier. Does this similarly concern you?
Well, I'm not a gamer, so it doesn't concern me with regard to games. And, it seems to me that if you want to learn about the world, you just go out in the world. You don't need a game to learn to do that. But then again, I'm completely out of it when it comes to games. So,
What Gordon says is absolutely correct. It's important to still have real interactions with others and real experiences, but and I think it's important from time to time to take a digital detox and not constantly stare at the screen. It's bad for your eyes. I take a break by playing Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, Chopin. Going back to play piano and read. And I think it's really important to have those experiences. But at the same time, our world is changing, and some of that we need to embrace.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've got quite different topics, quite different opinions on this particular topic. Let's hope we can bring you together with our final topic. Here's one curmudgeonly duck who's managed to escape becoming foie gras and is celebrating a very special birthday today. No prizes for guessing. Disney's Donald Duck is 80 years young. There he was making his debut appearance in an animated short film called The Wise Little Hen. He's featured in more Disney films than any other character, even his friend Mickey Mouse. Well, Dr. Chris Pallant has written a book on the history of Disney animation. He says Donald was created as the voice of the frustrated in society.
He came through during the 30s when, the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl sweeping across America as well. And in quite a lot of his early cartoons, you'll see Donald in a setting of adversity, and he usually works in maybe a labour-intensive environment, and things don't go his way. So I think, the viewers of today, the audiences of today, can really connect to that.
Gordon Chang, Donald Duck, a product of the Depression. What, are you a Donald Duck fan, or are you more of a Mickey Mouse person?
Well, I find Disney all too cute, except for Donald Duck. And so, I can see what, people resonating with Donald Duck, because he does really sort of mirror people's real lives. So, all to Donald Duck, 80 years, that's great, to another 80 more, because, when it comes to Disney, he's my guy.
So this is because he sort of things seem to be going well for him all the time, don't they? And then something happens and he gets rather annoyed, rather frustrated.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of like him. I've got all of his faults plus a few more. So I can certainly...
Many of we men are, I think. Yeah. Jennifer, which Disney character would you most associate yourself with?
I like Minnie Mouse, actually. I'm very girly. I like Minnie. But I've actually always been very amused by this Mickey Mouse-Donald rivalry. And Donald Duck has been very sort of Charlie Chaplin. His physical comedy is genius. He looks very young for his age, 80. So happy birthday, Donald. Absolutely.
Happy birthday, Donald. And thank you to you both for joining me on the programme here on Business Matters. Jennifer Cheng, Gordon Chang. You've been listening to Business Matters from the BBC World Service. Don't forget the podcast if you've missed any...